Have you ever felt like your team thinks you just sit in the office watching Instagram reels all day while they're out there doing the real work? Like you bring in guests, pay the bills, you run the marketing, you build the brand, and still someone on your team assumes you're just in the back scrolling TikTok with your feet up.
Yeah, let's be honest, you guys, that stings because you know how much weight you carry. You know how many nights you've laid awake wondering how to make payroll or how to get more traffic in the door. But most of that, it's invisible. But today we're going to break that invisibility wide open because we're talking about the true value a commission salon owner brings to the table and how to help your team finally see the power of what you do.
Yeah. All right. So let's go. So, the one thing we want to start with is one of the most important responsibilities of a salon owner is bringing in new guests. Like in
Mhm.
a well-run commission salon, the owner is the engine. Like you're
Mhm.
running the ads, you're building the brand, you're creating content, you're sending emails. You could go on and on, like partnering with local businesses, showing up in your community. And what does that create? It creates one thing: traffic.
Mhm.
So imagine this, like your salon brings in 100 new guests every single month. Now that's 100 fresh opportunities for your
Mhm.
team, 100 chances to create raving fans, repeat business, retail sales, referrals, and ultimately growth for them. That is the value of a salon owner who knows how to market.
I love that. And if you're not there yet and that number feels out of reach, I get it. That's why we're here. Go ahead and text the word 100 to 469 283 5590. You can find that number down in the show notes too, and we'll connect with you directly because you guys, we have a limited number of coaching spots open, and we'd love to help you build a business that can sustain and scale, you know, that kind of guest flow. You need a minimum of 100 new guests each month, and we want to help you be able to get that right away.
Yeah. So let's talk about something that creeps up in every salon, in any business, really, and it's attrition.
Mhm.
So even the best guest experiences can't prevent it entirely. People move, budgets shift, life happens. But the industry average is about 15% loss per year. So the
Mhm.
attrition rate in our industry is about 15%. So if you think about that, like if you're a solo service provider, right, and that kind of dip is devastating. 15%, like you will feel it instantly in your income, your energy, like your momentum. But that's the power of a commission salon, especially a commission salon with the owner who knows how to generate traffic. That loss is covered. Like you've already replaced the guests that you've lost sometimes before you even realize they're gone. And so this is the power of having a system. And that is the gift you give your team, whether they realize it or not.
Mm, I love that. Jen, it makes me think of, I just recently had a beauty pro from our team who left to go somewhere else because, they didn't have any rules or it was kind of just, a free for all. And, somebody mentioned not that long ago that they had spoken with her and she said, man, I wish I wouldn't have left right before summer because it's really slow. And the truth is, it's never going to be busy, no matter what time of year it is, because that salon owner doesn't view themselves as a salon owner. They're just there to have a space. They're trying to just cover rent, and that's why it's a free for all. It's no judgment on their business. Everybody gets the opportunity to create whatever it is that they want to create, but you know, let's get real about what's actually happening and what we're actually providing, and so when our team understands the value that we're bringing to the table, they can see why this matters to them. So let's go ahead and break down the numbers. But first, let's get real about something that causes a lot of tension, and that's profit. So let's say you're a salon owner making $10,000 a month in profit. We're just using this for easy math, you guys, to follow along. Let's say you have 10 stylists, and, from the outside, someone might whisper, wow, the owner is making $1,000 off of each of us. But let's flip that. Because let's say one stylist is seeing 20 new guests a month thanks to your marketing efforts. That average ticket is $150, let's say. They're retailing, they're rebooking, they're retaining. So they are making anywhere between $4,000 to $6,000 more every month. That's more every month because you brought in that traffic. So that's $1,000 that you're making. It's not a fee, it's a monumentum investment. Think of all the momentum that you create for them. That's returning to them 3x, 4x, even 5x for your team. You guys, we need to stop thinking in terms of division and start thinking in terms of multiplication.
I think about investing money when you said that, Lindsay. Like, I would love to get 4 times, 5 times the return on any investment I do. And like, we do that for our teams every single day. And sometimes they don't even realize it. So that was just really powerful. The way you said that. I love what you said, and stop thinking in terms of, did you say division?
Yeah.
And start thinking in terms of multiplication. That's
Yeah.
so powerful. And we know that, visibility builds trust. But here's the problem. Your team doesn't see what they're not told. They see you walk into the office with your laptop, and unless you show them, they assume the worst. And that's where we as leaders have to own it. You have to start showcasing and showing what you're doing, showing your work. Talk about the email campaign you're building and what the open rate was. Share the Instagram reel that brought in 8 new guests. Tell them about the ad that cost $80 and booked 3 brand new extension guests. And when your team sees the effort, they start to understand the impact. Like, you're not just running numbers, you're fueling careers.
I love that. You are fueling careers, Jen. That's a beautiful way to say that. And truly what we're trying to do here is to create presence over panic. Because let's talk about energy. It's one of the most overlooked leadership traits. And this is the one thing that's the most overlooked leadership trait, and that's presence. It's not performance, not perfection, it's presence. Your team doesn't need you to micromanage, but they do need to feel you. Walking in calm, greeting people by name, asking a stylist how their rebook rate is going. Telling another one that you saw their amazing post on their stories, or, whatever it is. You don't need hours, you need intention. Because when your team feels your presence, they trust your leadership. And when they trust your leadership, they stop questioning your value.
So good. So here's the message we're taking back. We're taking back to our teams. Like, yes, you create the culture. Yes, you pay the bills. Yes, you handle the stress. But more than that, you're bringing in the traffic that builds their dreams. You're not scrolling reels in the back. Like, you're creating a system that gives them stability. You're not taking a cut. You're multiplying their impact. And when you're not invisible, unless you choose to be, like, you're not invisible unless you choose to be. I just, like, if you really think about that, wow, it's sharing all of these things, like educating them, what they don't know, like, really helps to create that impact.
So what's the next move? Start showing your team the value that you bring. Share your marketing wins, be present on the floor, teach them the math, celebrate the new guest count every month. And if you're not hitting that 100 guest mark and you want to, text 100, just the number 100, to 469-283-5590. And we'll reach out, because we have a limited number of coaching spots. And this kind of momentum changes everything, not just for you, but for the people that you lead.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, they think you're just scrolling, but you're building an empire.